You're listening to On Mission with Dr. Matt Davis, a podcast designed to explore the personal mission of everyday leaders. Hear from men and women who are making a difference in their corner of the world and discover what keeps them on mission. Welcome to On Mission. I am Dr. Matt Davis, and my guest today is a good friend, actually, that has had a few years since he graduated from Maranatha as a distinguished alum, and he is Ethan Rosen. And I am so excited about this conversation. Been trying to get you on the podcast for a couple of seasons now, and it finally worked out in the schedule. Ethan and his wife, Tori, who is also somewhat Maranatha famous, a first ballot Hall of Famer into the Maranatha Sabercats Hall of Fame. I don't know what the rule is.
How long is that term? How long before you can vote somebody in like that?
I need to look that up.
You should look that up.
I don't think you have to be dead.
I know, that's what I worry about. Sometimes I look at what's in the Hall of Fame, like, they're all like almost dead people.
No.
Almost. I didn't say all.
I'll have to tell PR you said that. He was
I did not say
recent.
all.
So. Well, okay. You said almost. All right.
Almost. Almost is a different word, though.
We're off to a good start. Ethan and his wife reside in the Pacific Northwest.
The beautiful Pacific Northwest.
Yes, with their 3 children now, all under the age of 5, keeping them very busy. His first job was picking rocks in a field, but his first consistent job was as a newspaper route and milking cows at a dairy farm. His favorite meal is steak, potatoes, peas, and Brussels sprouts. I don't know about that Brussels sprouts thing, but he's an agriculture guy now.
That's correct.
All right, you're getting in touch with the roots. All right. His hobbies include weight training, running, hunting, and, of course, family time. He is the president and owner of Pure Line Seeds Incorporated and oversees research and product teams networking with professional seed growers in the Pacific Northwest to provide high-quality, certified organic vegetable seeds for global distribution. Wow, that's impressive.
We do a little bit.
And you started here at Maranatha.
I did.
I'm just proud to know you. Ethan, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. And actually, there's a exciting announcement.
Oh.
Yeah, we're expecting our 4th in September. Yes.
Yes.
So I'm announcing it on the podcast.
Wow.
So everybody gets to hear this.
Okay, well, when it comes out in 2 months, everyone will know. All right.
Everybody will know.
That's exciting. So number 4 on the way.
Yeah, number 4 on the way.
Man, all right. So this popped up in my feed, my photo feed.
Yes.
It said, your memories, they do this to you. And sometimes it's
Facebook,
sad. Sometimes it's fun.
Yes.
No, it's just in my Google Photos.
Oh, okay,
right?
okay. So it wasn't on Facebook then?
No. And so I want to show you what popped up. It was a wedding picture of you and Tori, all right, from out at Wynwood, the golf course that used to be here in town. Sad. You guys had your wedding reception out there, and so can you believe it's been 10 years? Did you know that, or am I announcing that to you?
No, I know it's 10 years. I know it's 10 years. And the reason why I know this is because actually when my wife's actually in Hawaii with the kids already.
Oh.
So I think you had a former person that was on this, was my mother-in-law, was Regina on this podcast. She went with them. They're spending their 40th. So it's their 40th right now. So I'm doing a lot of announcements here.
Yeah.
So it's their 40th right now in March. And then so the rest of the family's staying there for... So I'm going to meet them in about a week and a half. So
all right,
I got to work.
They're going to be there that long?
Oh yeah. They're going to have a fun time in Hawaii. So
they're going to get to know the place.
They are.
They're not just visiting. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So it's a lot of fun.
So that's your big trip for the 10th anniversary.
It is.
I'm glad you remembered.
I did remember.
That's your duty.
And my wife was not going to let me forget, by the way.
Well,
so
that's because she's awesome in
so
many ways.
I will also say what's cool about when we picked to have our wedding, because it's on Pi Day.
Oh,
so
314. Okay,
yes, it is. Mm-hmm. So we actually have people that text me, and they don't text me any other time out of the year. They're like, hey, I remember you guys got married on this day. And what's even worse is my wife was a math major.
Yep, she's a math person.
Yeah, so she actually made sure that we got married we started walking down the aisle, she did, at 314, and then what's the next numbers after that? She's gonna question me on this and be like, you don't know, Ethan? But it was like, whatever the next decimal points after.
I think it's 17.
Yeah, she started going out at that time. It was like all coordinated, timed. It was awesome. So it was just.
Well, I'm sad to tell you that Wynwood is out of business now, but the building is available. I looked at it for Maranatha and I thought, what could we do out here? Because it's such a beautiful facility. And it was a great place for a wedding reception.
You know what you should do?
Yeah.
This is just an idea. So what you should do is you can purchase this building. Mm-hmm. You can start a golf team. The only problem is golf is on Sundays is a problem. The only problem is you have to go to church. I understand that. So that was the discussion about having a golf team here.
Right.
But what else could you do with it? I have to.
Well,
think
here's
about
the problem. the golf course no longer exists. So here's the funny thing about that, and it's in two ways, and it's almost like irreparable. Okay, so because I'm thinking enough money you can do anything, but they sold the greens. They sold the greens, just the greens. So they couldn't sell anything else. They sold the greens.
So they sold the grass on the greens is what they did.
Another golf course came, and with whatever machinery you do, they stripped off a couple of feet of every single one of the greens
and harvested
all the green grass, which is different.
Yep.
And so those are gone. And then they leased the ground of the actual course to farmers. And so if you drive by, you remember hitting a fade on that one hole, and it just perfectly came across the bunkers and rolled up to the fringe, and you go, that was one of my greatest shots. And now that's just a cornfield.
See, that might have been you. When I golf, I'm actually in the rough all the time. And so I don't drive down the fairway.
I played there hundreds of times, so I'm saying most of the time, me too. But that one time is the one I'm remembering.
Correct. I can relate.
And
to
many
that.
times I hit the houses, and they're still there.
Correct.
But they bought in when they had a beautiful golf course view, and now they have a beautiful view of a cornfield.
Right.
A very oddly shaped cornfield.
That would be a very oddly shaped cornfield.
And that's basically all those holes are now just
So really what you're saying is this a call out to the rest of the alumni and everything to come up with ideas what they could do with Wynwood. That's what this is.
The facility.
Yes,
because the whole clubhouse, it's got a restaurant in the bottom. Mm-hmm. It's got locker rooms in the lower level. And then up above is that beautiful banquet facility and restaurant. It could be a lot of things. I thought about a recording studio. That would be a great place. It would be big enough for the whole band and orchestra to be in there and have their own thing. But I don't know. $750,000 they want for it, and that'd be a lot for
that's a few
it's
pennies.
Just a little too far away from the campus to walk,
Yes.
And so
You'd
I don't know what will become
system. You'd have to have shuttle
poor
system.
Wynwood. So now all we have is the country club,
which
and
I
then
know about,
we poor people like me can't play there unless I get invited by
somebody else,
a doctor or somebody.
Right, correct.
So I play there once a year when we have our golf outing, and then this year they've sold the country club.
Oh, really?
And
I did not
don't
know
this. I don't know the buyers yet, and so I need to find out from Mr.
You have a little
Board.
work to do.
I think Mr. Board knows him.
Oh,
he would probably knows everybody.
Yes,
So,
especially now since he's running for mayor. So we'll see
maybe
how
I have
that
a
goes.
chance. I'm thinking free membership for Maranatha. That's what we should do, and then we could talk about starting that golf team.
There you go.
That is a problem. People ask me about starting a golf team.
I know what it is.
In the South, so because BJU has a golf team in the South, their matches are Friday, Saturday.
Correct.
And here in the North, all the teams we would play against, it's all Sunday, Monday.
Correct.
Or Saturday, Sunday. And it's like, well, that's a non-starter.
Correct.
So
I remember having this conversation with the athletic director and all this stuff at the time.
We just couldn't do it. So, I mean, otherwise, everything would be fine.
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
correct.
Perfectly
Correct.
fine.
No problem.
I could coach, right?
Yes. You wouldn't want me coaching.
Taylor would probably get involved. He's a good golfer.
He is.
Coach Thompson would probably want to get involved.
That is correct.
We got some good golfers.
You got some pretty good golfers.
You know who's one
here.
of the good golfers now is Paul Brown, our new athletics director.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he's a good golfer. So, yeah. I don't know. We're still brainstorming for all that, but that was not your sport here.
No, it was not. It was not my sport.
I don't even know if I want to bring this up.
I don't know if I want to bring it up either.
But
we're pausing.
You were one of the
pausing.
great football players that I used to love to watch, and I'm sure there are probably quarterbacks from teams we used to play that still have nightmares and
We're
wake
terrified.
up in the middle of the night and go,
here he comes, here he comes.
Here he comes. They're hearing the footsteps.
It did not start out that way when I was a freshman. By the time I got to be a senior,
I don't remember you as a freshman.
Well, because you weren't here. You didn't come until my sophomore year.
Okay, well then
you
that
were still
makes
in
sense.
Florida.
I'm off the hook.
Yeah, you were off the hook at that time.
Well, and I was only adjunct then for most of your college career until probably your senior year.
That's correct. Yep.
And then we had that conversation, so we were just reminiscing about this.
We were.
So, one of my first my first year as executive VP, and then we had a meeting with students, and we often do listening sessions. And one of the things that comes up is, okay, we have to have some rules. All right, they had rules in the Garden of Eden.
Correct.
All right,
yes.
At least one anyway.
Right.
So we have to.
And we didn't follow that one, by the way.
No, that one didn't work out too good either. So Which tells me it's not really about the rule book at the end of the day.
It's about the heart, isn't it?
But yeah, you were chosen to represent like the men's.
Yes, there was like 3 representatives. I'll admit I wasn't the only one.
Oh, okay.
But we did get like what it was like a feedback group that we met with like the different.
What rules would you change, or how could we adjust things?
Yes, it was actually a lot of fun.
So now when you come back and you see what stands out to you, well, it's a kinder, gentler day.
It is a kinder, gentler day. That is correct. I would say probably the biggest thing, it is a lot more relaxed on the dress code is the biggest thing.
We were still doing ties to class, right?
Oh, no, ties to class until noon. And then they, no, it wasn't even until noon. You had to be class all day.
Yeah.
And then at one time, you actually had to be like in collared shirt to go back to the dining hall in the evenings with the right pair of shoes on, with a belt. If you didn't even have a belt on, you got in trouble for not having a belt.
What are we, like a bunch of heathens? I mean, come on. Yes. You can't just walk in there and eat dinner in sneakers. Okay?
Well, I see that now, though.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Oh, whoops. Yeah, I just reverted back.
Yeah, that's correct.
No, I think there was just a different philosophy about that. And these days, I'm not sure you could get away with it.
Right.
As a college demanding that. Yes. I mean, because I think back, my dad would say they lived in Old Main, and the living quarters were on the second floor. The restrooms and showers were in the lower level.
Right.
And they had to put on a shirt and tie to go down to the bathroom in the morning before they
got ready.
Were really ready.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you couldn't be on the main level without a shirt and tie.
Correct. That's crazy.
We can all point back and say, back in my day.
Back in my day.
Now you're the old guy.
I am. I mean, I graduated, 13, maybe 14 years ago? 13 years ago, I think it was.
How is that possible?
It goes so fast.
Yeah.
It really does.
That doesn't even seem possible.
No, it's
So were you here as a student when we made the transition to Sabercats?
I was not. That was
you were
after.
Still in the area or something.
I'm a true crusader.
Yeah.
That's really what I
holding on to that.
I am. It's okay though.
Why'd they have to change that anyway?
I'm not really sure. No, actually, I do know.
Who do we need to talk to?
I'm not really sure.
Who knows that story?
Now, I will say this is a funny story about this. So this is before we actually went. So this is after I graduated. So I went to Israel on the mission trip with the football team.
Football mission trip. What were we thinking, honestly? What could possibly go wrong?
So we had a missionary friend from Coach Price's days he was actually a missionary in Israel that was doing mission work with through the football teams with the national teams in Israel. It was really cool. But what was interesting about it is we actually got interviewed since I was the football captain and stuff, I was the guy that they said, hey, you have to go give a talk. I'm like, why do I have to give a talk? I don't want to talk. And then we were asked by like the local people, and our name was the Crusaders. And they're like, so I actually got asked questions about like, are you coming here to crusade or whatever? And I was like, no. And like Coach Price like prepped me not to say dumb
Good
things.
For him to think about that.
Yes, he did. Oh. So, but it was one of those questions I was actually asked while we were in Israel about that. So, I mean,
that's rough.
I understand why we ended up changing the name later, but like it's an interesting story all around though.
Well,
it was fun though.
It certainly, there was issues with that, but if you think about it, like there's 2 connotations of crusade.
Yes, that's correct.
And we don't really identify with either one of them.
Yes.
And so I'm not even sure what connotation of it we would identify with other than just to be aggressive and sharing the gospel so that people voluntarily accept Christ. We're not doing this, at the point of a sword, which has always been a Baptist distinctive of free will and making sure that there's a genuine voluntary profession of faith. So
but a crusade also can be a journey that you're on too. So like I always looked at it
in the broadest possible sense.
Yes, in the broadest possible sense.
An odyssey or something. Okay.
Yeah, correct.
And what do you do when you get there,
correct.
Ethan?
That's correct.
So, and the other sense of a crusade would be like the Billy Graham crusade. And well, we don't really identify with that either.
Correct.
So I'm like, I don't know if this is a good fit. But at the time we were making the adjustment from Bible college to university, it just made sense
a smooth transition.
Combine both together.
Yep.
And then we ended up with the coolest, mascot and. I mean, uncontested. I mean, honestly, there's really no
other question.
No contest.
No question there.
Unanimously voted every year by me.
Correct.
That the Sabercats are the coolest. And I'm sorry you didn't get to be a part of that.
I did not.
If you want, do you have any eligibility? They're doing a lot of weird things with eligibility after COVID.
No, I couldn't. When I went to Israel, because I was a senior and I graduated, I had to sign a paper that went to the NCAA saying that I could not play any more college sports. because I was going to play part of the college team. And technically, that was our first game of the next season. So technically, I already played one extra season with Maranatha.
Yeah, but the NCAA doesn't know anything anymore.
That's
you see,
true.
They don't even know how to tell if it's a man or a woman or
That's true.
what's going on.
It's a mess. It's a mess.
And the money that's going through sports now is crazy. You don't even have to be an amateur anymore. You can be a professional athlete and play college sports.
Which is insane, truthfully. Like, I look back on it when I was...
made a lot of money.
I could have made a lot of money. Actually, not me. My wife could have made a lot more money than me.
She got that NIL money. She might still be able to get some NIL money.
She might still be able to.
Well, with COVID, they gave everybody an extra year.
Yep.
But then they said all the records still count.
Correct.
How's that possible?
It makes no sense
5
to me.
seasons.
It doesn't make any sense to me.
And then, because not everyone got 5 seasons, but they said, yeah, you could have 5. Now they're saying junior college doesn't count.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go to junior college and then get another 4 years. Mm-hmm. People are going to be like 30 years old, making $1 million a year playing whatever sport.
It's changed.
I don't understand it.
It's not the same as when I was in school.
Now, D3
Now, that made me sound old when I said that, by the way. Back in my day.
Facial hair, too, by the way, where you could have
I know
beard.
you can have facial hair here now, too.
Why did they do that? What's the deal?
I'm not sure.
Place is going to pot. I don't know what's going on. Who's in charge around here, man? Who's making
I think it might be you.
Oh, no. Whoops. There's a team.
You know, we probably would have had a lot more football players if we would have had beards around here. Those guys love to grow beards. Just saying.
Honestly. And maybe a hockey team.
True. That is very
I've always
true.
thought the hockey would be a good fit. Because another problem with golf is that we have like 1 month during the academic year.
No. I think less than 1 month. You might have.
Well, it'd have to be in the fall.
You might have like 2 weeks.
Yeah, not if it was a spring sport.
No, spring sport. You'd have like 2 weeks. That's it.
The baseball team. The first time they get out on a field, a diamond, is their first game when they go south far enough to find a field that's thawed out.
Right.
So it's pretty rough. But man, they won this last weekend.
Yep.
Got a great victory. Man, I'm here for it. I'm ready for more. All right, so let's talk about your business.
Oh boy,
did you always want to be in the seed business?
No, I did not.
So how on earth did that come about?
That's a great question. So really, I actually wanted to be in sports. Like that was my passion. Yeah. But then I'm not saying you can't make a lot of money in sports.
Yeah.
I didn't have the right connections at the time for that.
Is it a lot about just who you know and who you're connected to?
Well, I think a lot of life is actually.
Well, that's good.
Because I'll give a little story about basically how I ended up where I did with the job I'm doing now and the business I own. And I actually have to give a lot of credit to Coach Price, because what ended up happening was I was doing an internship up in Lodi, and he got me in contact with a local church that I was going to end up staying at different people's houses for the summer, because I didn't have any money, and I was like, how was I going to be able to afford to do this? So I ended up being tossed around like a football to different people's homes. But what ended up happening is I ended up
staying...
We're
out your welcome one place.
Exactly.
They're like, okay,
hey,
you go now.
Time to get up. So I ended up staying at the former owner of the business I own now, house, in his basement for, it was supposed to only be a month. I was supposed to have a month stay. Okay. That was my agreement. So I was getting towards the end of the month while I was there, and the guy's like, you don't have to leave. This is awesome. And I ended up making more money for him during the summer than I did on the internship that I got my credits and everything for my sports management degree. And so I ended up just started working for him for that summer. He didn't have anything for me at the time. So I ended up going on a couple other things after I graduated, a little soul searching, a little journey that I had to go through, that a lot of kids go through. I understand that. But then he came back and reached back out to me. I already had a job actually with Chick-fil-A. Great organization, just wasn't the right fit for me. Mm-hmm. And I was actually going to try to get into their trainee program and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It was not the right
fit. I talked with Alex Rodriguez yesterday about that, how competitive it is.
It is super competitive. Yeah. Super competitive. And I mean, it's a great organization. If you can be a part of it, it's a great one to be a part of. It just wasn't my path. That's not what God had for me. And he opened up other doors for me. And the door was this. Basically, after 2 months of me being in Chicago working at a store that just opened, it just wasn't the right fit. I could tell, like, in my heart, there was something off.
Okay.
And so
Are you still single at this point?
I was dating. I was dating. Tori and I were dating. She was still crushing records here at Maranatha, playing volleyball, basketball, all the fun things she was doing. So she doesn't really want me to talk about softball because she was not her favorite sport. So
softball.
Yeah, softball.
Well, that was just to rack up another.
Just to say she played another
varsity
sport.
letter.
That's all it was.
Yeah.
I think that's really what it was. She never really enjoyed it. She actually got mad at me when I'd come to her games. She's like, "Why are you even here?" She's like, "It's so cold. Just get out of here." I was like, "Well, I have to support you. I'm the boyfriend. You know,
you gotta
it's
be
my
the good
duty.
boyfriend.
It's my duty." So
she didn't want you to see what was happening.
Correct, and how bad she was. She was like, she's so good at all the other stuff, and then she was like, "Oh, I'm terrible."
I don't believe it.
So, anyways, back to then basically the opportunity came. He gave me a call. Gave me a shot in his marketing department, and which I did not do marketing. I basically did a lot of other stuff for him. I was like the jack of all trades, and I basically never left his basement after I went back to work for him until I got married. And then he's like, "Hey, this can get weird. We better kick you out."
Yeah, why don't you get your own place?
Yeah, exactly. So that's what ended up happening. I think I lived in his basement for 2, maybe 3 years.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Must have been a nice setup.
Oh, it was a great setup, actually. Yeah, it was actually my little old man cave down
That happened
there,
to your mother-in-law, too. She had a guy, just a dude that moved into their house.
Yeah, I know this guy.
And he's a really successful businessman now, too.
Yeah, Luis Fonseca. Shout out to Luis. Yeah, shout out to him. So I know who that is. So.
Yeah, we talked about this. She's like, I don't know. He's stayed here for a while, and he's still here.
Actually, what's the funniest part about this one? So I remember when he came on campus. So I was always on the lookout because I was football captain. I was always on the lookout for like players. So Luis came on campus to visit. He had just gotten saved.
Well,
all
you
this
didn't
other
have to be
stuff.
a genius to see maybe this guy'd be
Oh
a
no,
good
this
ad
guy
for the
was.
team.
I mean, he was huge. I mean, this guy. He played at Michigan State. Tore up his knee or something, all this other stuff. I was like, this kid.
You got a keen eye for talent.
I was like,
there.
Yeah, it didn't take much. This guy's huge. I mean,
you really could have been a sports agent.
I know. I should have been
a diamond in the rough.
I messed up. Anyway, so he comes, and I remember him being here, and I said, "Hey, come over to my at that time they're my in-laws now, but they were just I was hoping they'd become my in-laws at that time in my life. I was yes, definitely. Anyway, so he came and he never left. Like I just brought him over there. And he moved in. He just like the next day he was moving.
Came over for pizza one day, and now he was just a dude that lived there.
He's fun. Yeah, good family friend of mine now.
So you started working at the business, and then for just your own talent and interests, you started doing all kinds of different things. Is that because you just saw things that needed to be done and decided to roll up your sleeves, figure it out, and do it? Or I
think I had the unique blessing that since I lived with him, I learned a lot of what, like the process of being an owner while I was living with him. Because this is a unique opportunity that a lot of kids don't get. Basically, it would be like 9:00 at night. He'd like yell downstairs and say, "Hey, come on upstairs, Ethan. We got to deal with something." Now, this is not great work-life balance, but like I'd run upstairs, we'd be around the kitchen table, and we'd like do work. Yeah. And it was a blast. Like I learned so many things at that young age when I was like being molded and all those things. And it was just some of it was what not to do. Sure. And then I just got to.
But where do you get that kind of access to somebody?
You don't.
I mean,
really. I mean, other than, it was a Lord thing. Yeah. Like He opened the doors and had me do this. So like, this is where God called me to be. This is the path He wanted me. And not everybody's going to have this opportunity. But I would say for kids that are trying to find that, I think sometimes what they need to look for is like people within their church community that, what ends up happening. So for this gentleman, why I ended up getting the ability to buy the business is he has 5 daughters, super successful. They've done great things in their lives. But what ended up happening is they weren't interested in the business and they didn't have a passion for it. That's okay. That's not a bad thing, but I had a passion for it. So then he looked at it and said, "Hey, wait a second here. I got this kid right here that loves this thing, maybe going out and just hustling and doing everything." And, different things happen and opportunities open for me to be able to end up buying it. But, and maybe that might not be your path. It might have been, hey, work yourself up to a VP or make yourself into a general manager, or different things that might end up happening for those roles. You might not end up owning it like I had the opportunity to do at the age of 28 when I actually bought this business.
I know the feeling.
Yeah,
What?
What just happened to me? I was like, then I actually remember I didn't sleep for 2 weeks after I bought the business. I was like, what did I just do? I was like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever done. And then I was like,
or the smartest.
Right. It depends on how you look at it. But at the moment, it was absolutely terrifying. But
I'm sure.
Yeah. No, it is. Because I was 28 years old, and you're like, what did I just do? There's a debt level and some other responsibilities that are put on you. But
people don't understand when you buy a business like that, I mean, if you're a venture capitalist, it might be different. But when you're doing it like this, you're leveraging that sale to basically borrow money to buy out the original owner.
That's correct.
And then he kind of retires with that.
Yep.
That money that becomes more liquid asset for him,
yep.
but it's based on debt for you,
yep.
which you're counting on the business producing that revenue that's going to pay it back. So it's not like immediately money in your pocket. It's the opposite.
Correct. Correct.
Like now I'm all of a sudden, I've put every penny I got into this thing,
right.
and it's got to produce.
I will say the advantage is I didn't have anything.
Yeah.
So like if you think about it, I had nothing to lose on the other side.
Proof.
Right. Because I was just like, I didn't know any better. So I was like, let's just jump in.
What are you going to do, bankrupt me?
Yeah, exactly. So it's just, and it's actually been a lot of fun. I've owned it now since 2019, so 6 years now.
Yeah.
And we've actually been very successful. We've had some bumps in the roads and things like that, but you're going to have that along the way, and that's just part of the journey that you're going to have.
I'll ask you about those in a minute.
Okay, good.
So before we get too far along into the story,
ahead.
Let me ask you kind of just to reflect a minute.
Yep.
What, as you look at things now, as they sit here today, because your path went a different direction you already talked about.
Yeah.
What is your mission in life?
Oh, yeah.
What drives you?
Yep.
I mean, that's the kind of basis of the podcast.
Right.
So how would you reflect on that core of what you're trying to accomplish here?
So, and I think Maranatha helps shape a lot of this too. And I think that's where I'm going to put, this is my plug for Maranatha. So like, and this is, but find a place that you can be involved where they can challenge you to do this. Cause I didn't develop a lot of this thought process until I came to a school like this. You know, I had good mentors and leaders even when I was in the church I was in and things, but you don't cement a lot of these things until I got here. Cause I made it my own while I was here. But I think really for me, it came down to is I wanted to glorify God, and that's easier said than done a lot of times, but like, yeah, everybody says that's kind of cliche for Christians, stuff like that. Oh, you just want to glorify God. But that's really what we're called to do. Glorify God. And then for me, within my personal side, is to be the best father and husband I can be. And then the next stage is from work side, what I'm currently doing, unless God calls me to do something else. I love being able to feed the world through seed. You know, that's a unique opportunity that I get to do, that I actually have an impact, that this product gets to go all over the world. And I can go to fields in Germany, Kenya, wherever, these different places that I've been to. I haven't been to Kenya yet, but I've been to South Africa and places like that, and walked into a field that was my crop that we as a company have developed, step out there and be like, hey, I know this is going to end up in a product that is going to feed somebody someday.
Wow.
That's cool. That to me is like, that's a unique opportunity.
That's profound, actually.
It is. So, and then the next step is just developing and having jobs for people that work for me is a huge responsibility. That
and you got a lot of family that work for you.
Yeah, I do. Yes, I
was
do.
talking to your father-in-law, Kent, a year ago, and he said, yeah, Ethan's got me sorting seeds and all this. You know, he's like, a big shipment comes in, and he's... So I basically have, he still owns his own business, Kent does, but so I was like, hey, I'll just have him come in and do some work for me. And then like, he actually, I think, works more than I do now. He just loves it. He just is, he's so dedicated. Yeah. He's just like, hey, actually I was giving him a hard time. Like I told it earlier in the podcast, they're in Hawaii. He's actually cutting it short because he feels guilty he's being there too long. I'm like, no, stay the whole time. Don't worry about it. He's got to be getting close to retirement age.
He can't retire. Don't say that.
Oh,
you can't say that. No, he is getting close to retirement age. So
he was my neighbor, and I tried to get him to sell me his Cub Cadet when he left because it was in perfect
no.
He said, "No, I need to take that with me."
Correct. So this is a shout out to my lawn care crew. This is Kent and Regina are my lawn care crew at my house in the P&W. They do an awesome job. This is just shout out to you guys.
Well, of course he does an awesome job. His yard, and I hate to even tell him what happened to his yard after he sold it to Tim McPhillips.
Yeah, don't say this.
Yeah, he let me borrow it one time in my yard, which takes me about an hour to walk, and do. Mm-hmm. It took like 15 minutes, and I went over it twice.
Right.
With a bagger.
Right, with a bagger.
Like,
did you use the aerator too? Did you?
No, I was
have all those
ready
tools?
to do that.
Oh, gotcha. Then he moved. Right.
I had just aerated, and that was the problem, is that it had all the junk.
Yes.
Dethatched, maybe, is what I had done.
Yep.
And so, Yeah, I needed his heavy equipment, and man, that's when I realized there's a whole nother level.
There is. Of so I will say this is getting into the weeds a little bit, but this is an important topic. So
no weeds.
Out in the P&W. So where I actually live in the desert part of the state. So we actually have to water everything. So the biggest thing we had to learn was how to watch out for the sprinkler heads. It's a very important problem. So we had to flag our whole lawn. No, we know it all now, but it took a little bit at first.
Oh, I know, because same in Florida, which you don't think you're going to need that. But I had a glorious sprinkler system. But if you hit one of those suckers with the lawnmower, they don't survive.
No, they don't. You're done. You're done.
The lawnmower wins. It's a very sick sound because you're like, oh, there's $37 just right down the drain.
That is correct. That is correct.
Well, that's cool. So you're feeding the world. Now, I noticed it said high quality, certified organic vegetable seeds.
So we do both conventional and organic seeds. So we have both options.
So
there's a difference. Basically, it's just the method that it's produced by. So basically, instead of using chemical fertilizers and those type of things, or herbicides, fungicides, you're going to use certified organic. It doesn't mean that you're not applying something still on there. It's just going to be of a organic compound.
But isn't that what the farmer does after he plants the seed?
Yeah, but that's all tied into me. Like I have to, because these are my varieties. That is weird that say that I own them, but I do.
Yeah.
So and they're part of our company that we've developed. So they all come back to us. So there's a different process for me to have it for certified organic seed versus just a conventional seed. And there's just different items that you have to go through.
It will be naturally resistant in ways.
It has nothing to do with that. Actually, it's truly about how you grow it. That's it. That's just the difference.
Grow it.
Yeah, what you're going to use.
But I'm the one growing it as the farmer.
I understand that if you're not having the farmer, their ground has to be certified organic, so they basically can't use a fumigant or something on the ground, or it's just a different chemical group that can be used on it. It looks like that doesn't make any sense to you.
Well, I'm just trying to understand what that has to do with the type of seed that goes in. If I took a seed here and I didn't put any chemicals on it, it'd be organic. If I took that seed into another field and started putting all kind of junk on there, then it wouldn't be. But the seed would be the same.
It's pretty much the same thing. That is correct.
Okay.
The difference is truly what you just said, is putting basically a chemical on. But when I do certified organic, I have to take it one step further back, and I have to have the grower do that whole process all the way through. So basically, I have to produce seed that is certified organic from the start all the way through the whole process.
Is that where you have to have like a rabbi that comes in?
Not quite. Not
that's
quite.
Kosher.
Yeah, it's kosher. Bad. That's kosher. That's the other one, and we're not into that. So
but you said you own the seeds.
Yeah, we own the genetics. We own the genetics. Yes,
that go into that.
Yes, that is correct.
And that's like your intellectual property.
Correct.
You have.
We have PVPs. I don't have any patents myself. I have.
And what is it that you own?
So we actually own the genetic. That variety. So basically, I'll use it this way for an example. So basically, when you have, this will get a little bit into how this works from breeding side. So you have a mom and dad. They have a child, basically. That child is basically what we have, and that's the genetic material that is a part of our germplasm that we have. And then basically, nobody else can copy that from within the industry. So we have competitors that basically they don't want to. It has to be unique. So basically, if I had a comparison and grew them out, they'd be like, "Oh, wait a second here, that's the same thing." You can't.
Can you recognize your stuff?
Yes,
out
you
in
can.
The field?
Yes,
you can tell.
Yeah.
Oh, that's my seed.
Yeah.
Because I see, I grew up in Central Illinois, and you'd see test plots, and the University of Illinois is huge with agricultural research, and then I went to SIU, and they're huge with agricultural research. And there were some guys in our church that did this. And it was actually Ukraine where a lot of this stuff, very fertile and almost like analogous to Central Illinois in some ways.
Yes, the black soils that they have.
Yeah, they
yes,
go
that's
over
correct.
to Ukraine.
Yep, that place is amazing. I've not been there, but it really is from a fertility and growth standpoint.
Yeah.
It's a breadbasket of Europe.
So that's why it's really strategic land that people are fighting over.
Correct.
But, so I'm used to seeing the signpost where they would say, like, this variety is this variety. And
that's correct.
Kind of testing and conditions.
So, and we do the same thing. So basically, out of our program, we'll end up with basically 1,000 different lines or children. You could basically say that we're going to screen through, narrow it down, and then you have different generations also. So then you have multiple generations that end up happening when you finally get a purified line, and that's basically making sure that it's uniform, and you get off all the different off types that are within the line, which is part of the process that we do within our company, and other seed companies do too. But that's just basically getting rid of the junk.
No, that's the whole point of having something unique that you can sell.
Correct. It has to be uniform. Does that make sense?
Yes. Like you have to be able to reproduce it uniformly.
Yep, multiple times.
And so then you're looking for performance aspects to that.
So you're going to be looking at different things from like your yield, which yield's the biggest thing. When I first started in the industry, everybody said yield, 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 yield. That's king.
Okay.
Because that's what people get able to produce more. They get paid more for. Everything happens down that way. It's performance based on that. The next thing after that is quality, which is going to basically be your sugar content, how it eats, just different things that the industry is looking for as they're either canning or freezing it.
Right. So, what the preservative lifespan of this is going to be and that kind of thing too.
Yeah, I mean that's really not as much because that's more about your harvest window when you're actually harvesting the actual crop and the time that you do it in. Now, I will say there's certain varieties that actually allow for a bigger harvest window, so they basically don't flash to the finish line and start to deteriorate, which doesn't make any sense to you. I understand, but
I know
it's
exactly
like,
what you mean.
Yeah, so it's like you don't want it to go too quickly, and then you just want it to stay for a bigger window. So that allows basically the companies that we sell to, that are the canners or the freezers, that they have a bigger time to actually go through and harvest the product and get it into a can or.
So do you work a lot with farmers too, or are you kind of distant from that?
No. So yeah, we have the whole gamut. So we have our own farmers we contract with and grow our product.
Seeds.
And the seeds.
Okay.
And that's all done in the P&W. So we have a facility actually in Colorado and in Washington. So I actually have an alumni that works there for us, which is Caleb Stevens.
Yep.
So which is tied to Autumn.
Yep.
So which is another shout out to more athletes here.
I'm telling you, man, you got all these great athletes.
I know. That's what I try to do. So, and then
because you've got. Does Kelsey work for you too?
Yes, she does.
Okay.
So they just had a little one. Kelsey does, and then we have Andrew Stevens works, her husband.
Yep.
And then Drew. So I got a lot of people that work.
Drew
for me.
Delosier,
Great
soccer star.
The national. That is one of the greatest goals from like half court. It's not half court. What do you call that? Half field. There you go. Half field. Half court.
In the biggest game too.
Yeah. Nationals. It's just like
I can pull it up on my phone.
You should pull that up. We'd have to give him a shout out somewhere around here. He has to get a shout out too. So
yeah, that was epic.
It was.
So you're just like, I'm going to hire all these athletes. What? Okay, let's talk about that for a second.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
The life of a student athlete is just different, and you were kind of a fall sport athlete, obviously with football, the grind, what it does to your body, the discipline, the week after week after week.
Yep. They tried to get me to play basketball, but I was terrible at basketball, so I didn't do it. I'm tall.
Well, you're tall enough.
I know, but I just
Did you actually play a season, or do you?
No, I did not.
You just were like, society hoops will be enough for me.
I didn't even do society hoops. I was so focused on football. My whole life was football while I was here. I was like making sure that guys. Well, my biggest thing was making sure guys didn't get kicked out. And then make sure they come back.
Which is way harder than you think.
It is. Trust me.
With the football team.
With the football team, it was. We always were like, when guys would come in, we were like, we're going to lose probably about 10 guys. That's just the way it was. We knew they were just going to disappear. So that was just how it worked.
That's a conversation I don't want to have.
No, you don't. I know you don't want to have. But it was just what happened.
Let's talk about the life of a student athlete.
That's a better conversation.
I'm a big fan. Obviously, I do all the live stream announcing now.
Yeah.
So that's been a fun addition for me. People are like, how do you have time to do that? Well, it's in the evening, and so we don't have as many meetings in the evening, so I can go do that. And it's just a blast to get to know the students and to see them at their highs and lows, and to see them growing and not just from a skill standpoint, but learning these lessons you're talking about. Yep. But the life of a student athlete is hard, and I'm so impressed about how many scholar athletes we have. My son Mike, was able to be an academic All-American type thing, and I'm going, man, I'm in awe of that because I was never a president's list guy. I know Tori was. I don't know if you were. But.
I don't think I was. I was happy just to get through my classes.
I never got invited to the president's list.
Tori was upset when she got one thing wrong. I was like,
dude, that's
you're
good.
Fine.
Yeah.
You're fine. You're okay. You're still going to get an A.
So, but yeah, I was more like that. I'm more of a 95 guy.
Yeah.
92 is good.
Yep.
And so, but to watch my boys going through college now, and even as an athlete, that's incredible because of the schedule demands. You're doing away games. You got all the travel.
Yep.
What your body feels like, and just all that. I wonder if you could reflect on how that actually makes you more successful in life, even, or how those things translate.
Well, yeah, that's a good question. I think it just is a good training ground for you because this will maybe not be as encouraging for some, but it actually gets tougher sometimes when you get older.
Yep.
And the reason why I'm going to say that is you have more responsibility.
Yep.
So just because you are in college and you think, man, this is the toughest I ever have right now, it's like, actually, this is glorious time, folks. Enjoy it. Like you have the most free time. I remember being able to take naps in the afternoon. I'm like, those were the fun days. Like I was able to do those things. But you just have more responsibilities, get older. And I think that's a training process that allows you to be able to have that. It puts you at another level of responsibility, not just to you with the school and then also the team that you're a part of. So I think that's just the whole process because once you get out, you're going to have responsibilities. It's going to be your family. If God bless you with kids, you're going to have wherever you work. You may not be like me and own a business, but you're still going to have responsibilities. You still have a job. You still have to make money. You still have bills to pay. So it's and those are pressures you do have in college, but they don't go away.
Yeah.
So that's something you're going to deal with. And I think that's just the whole proving ground. It just helps train you for the next stage in life. So I think you just get probably more of it is you get a leg up. And then like we were talking about earlier, it gives you that self-discipline where you say, hey, I know I need to schedule my time this way so then I have space.
Well, the best employees, the best owners, the best people to work with are those that exercise that kind of self-discipline and have that internal motivation to improve. They're always on the lookout for things that they could do better, things that need their input, and they're willing to put their shoulder on the sled and try and drive it down the field, right?
Good analogy.
Yeah, so you're looking for that. And I'm seeing you describe your days as a football captain on and off the field. The leadership that you're describing with your peers is the same energy that you're using in the business today.
Correct.
Because you can't just command. I think people have this conception that, when I want to be the boss so I can tell people just go do it. And that doesn't really work. I mean, if you're in the military, it does, but I don't know.
You don't have a choice. I would say
you have to motivate.
Well, and the other side too is respect. A lot of times I tell people it's earned. So even when I was the football captain here, there was a few people that I had some issues with, and I had to go have frank conversation with them at that time I was moving up the ranks. I wasn't the captain at the time. He was actually somebody that was my senior on the team, and he was just doing some stuff that was pulling the team apart, and it was not great for team unity. And I remember going to him and talking to him, being like, "Hey, this is not okay. Like we can't do this. This is not great for the team." And like those are things that those are things I learned, but that's no different than in your life. Like you can't say that, "Hey, I'm gonna." Just because I have a position, say I'm the president or I'm the owner of Pure Line Seeds, I still have to work to earn the people that work for me their respect within the organization. They're not just going to be like, "Oh, I'm going to follow him right off a cliff." No, you see what I'm saying? Like it's that idea.
I talk to our coaches a lot about that. Like who's going to become the captain? Who's going to become that vocal leader? And it's got to be somebody who actually can play the sport.
Oh yeah,
you might
really
get a
helps
nice
too.
character guy.
Yep.
Who is very spiritual and very tuned into that aspect. But at the end of the day, like you have to be able to play and earn the respect of the players on the field, and then you can get in their face a little bit. Nobody likes conflict, but it is part of the process of leadership and that inspiring, motivating kind of leader. So. Man, we could talk for another couple hours.
We could.
I feel like the time has flown.
It has.
But we'll do it again when you're in town.
I know. I love this.
I appreciate your perspective. I'm proud to know you, and I'm proud of you as a Maranatha alum.
Yep.
And it's great to see you back for the Leader to Leader conference. And I know you got a workshop today.
When do I have to lead that?
Better get going. All right.
I got a little
Thanks
time.
for being here.
Perfect. Thanks.
Thank you for listening to On Mission, a podcast produced by Maranatha Baptist University. What do you want from college? Classes, professors, and lifelong friends? Yes. But most importantly, you should ask, will this school help me become the leader God wants me to be? But you might worry, will I have a community that I can belong to as a young believer? You will at Maranatha Baptist University in Watertown, Wisconsin. Attending the wrong college carries a high price, undermining your family's values, lost identity, and the tragic destruction of faith and hope that accompanies the cultural filth of a permissive worldly environment. Maranatha is more than a Christian college. We are a community on mission to help you make the most of your college years. Join the family, pursue excellence, advance truth, and find out more at mbu.edu. For more information about our podcast guests and to listen to all the previous episodes, visit mbu.edu/podcast. And join us again next week as we examine what keeps leaders on mission.